Electric Soup Kitchen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You sound surprisingly awake for 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, worryingly so.
We were going to do this yesterday, but you couldn't get up in time, could you?
No, I could have, but we'd had to have done it live from the bathroom.
So you had chronic diarrhea.
It's very.
Do you think anybody who's listening to this has an interest in chronic diarrhea or chronic diarrhea?
Well, that's the wonder of the internet. There's probably a little fan group dedicated.
There probably is. Anyway, it is 10 o'clock in Bransburton, East Yorkshire.
It's 5 a.m. in Albany, upstate New York.
And you're moving today?
No, next weekend.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of packing up to do.
Yeah. If I've got more pops and crackles on my mic this week, it's because I've lost a little foam piece, so I apologise for that in advance. yesterday was the 30th anniversary of Star Wars. Can you believe that? 30 years since it came out in the cinema.
Wow.
Does that make you feel old?
It does, but yeah, because I remember seeing it when it first came out.
Yep. So I've got some of the original radio advert spots from 1977 that they used to promote the film. So I'm going to play some of them. We've got more corporate sponsorship after the success of the Kentucky Fried Chicken last month. We've got Bird's Eye Peas. That music that we started with is from a website called methodmusic.com, which is a website that Pete Townsend has set up with a composer. And it's good. You go to it. They call it Sitting for a Musical Portrait. And if you go to methodmusic.com and register, you get 3 free portraits. And what you do is you put in, you send a photograph, you record a little sample of your voice, you record like a sample of you making a rhythm on the keys of the computer. You, what's the other thing you do? Yeah, I mean, you basically put in some personal information. But what it does, it doesn't transcribe that information into music, but it sort of reads that information, and it can see what your mood is, or get an idea of what you're like from that information, and then it composes the music from that. And yeah, so I've done one for the podcast. I put in the podcast logo. I sort of I recorded. I used the opening bubbles and the Electric Soup Kitchen. I put that in as the audio sample. And I'll play that at the end. And then the one we started with was one that I did and put in my details. So if anybody's interested in that, go to methodmusic.com and you can get 3 separate pieces done. And it works. If you approach it in different ways, it does produce different pieces of music.
Oh, listen to those.
What else are we going to talk about? We've got an update. It's a story that won't go away, Richard. The Phantom Crapper.
He's back?
He is back. He's escaped. Seriously. And it was somebody who listens to this who told me, they said, "Oh, you know that Phantom Crapper you're always talking about?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, he's escaped. It was in the newspaper." I'll tell you the story now. He was awaiting sentencing for criminal damage, and he'd been sent to a psychiatric hospital for assessment, and he got out. There's a picture of him. I'll put it in the iTunes player window. And police are asking for help from the public to track him down. That's unusual, isn't it? Because usually they say, don't go near, don't attempt to...
Especially with him.
Yeah, don't attempt to stop these people or go near them because they're dangerous. But it's okay with him. Pin him down. So he's free. He's on the loose. I hope he hasn't heard any of this and he's able to track us down.
Well, maybe he's coming for you.
Exactly. I might open the door one morning to see, get an unwanted present.
Especially crafted turd.
Yeah.
A little flag. I know where you live.
I know where you live, yeah. Could be anyone. Might not be him. Could just be the neighbour. So anyway, that was our update on him. He's loose. I think that story's never going to go away as long as he's around, and I don't think there's been any repeat attacks, but
he's not going to be able to resist the urge.
Exactly, he won't be able to resist the urge. He'll be sat at home thinking, I shouldn't do it. Next thing he knows,
gotta keep my head down.
Yeah, next thing he knows, he'll be getting a train ticket, pulling his trousers down, and thinking, what the hell am I doing? Anyway, so that was our Phantom Crapper update. We've got did you read that script?
I did.
I only got halfway through it, but we'll talk about that. We've got a script review of it's a computer animated film called Igor. It's a comedy. I think it's out next year. I'll get some more details on it, but I thought it was good.
Did you meet Batman?
I emailed Batman. He never replied, and I didn't. When I was over there, I didn't really get a chance to. I was like too knackered to get a chance to go down to the Man's Chinese Theatre on the Saturday morning. I did see some of the R2-D2 mailboxes.
Oh, that's always good.
Have you not seen any of them yet?
No.
Well, they're out to celebrate the 30th male anniversary. I did see one of them. But then he never replied. But then he sent me like a week ago. I got some like mass mail out saying that he'd posted a new video on his YouTube page. And I just thought, so what? If won't reply to my email, I'm not going to go watch your video. Also, carrying on from Batman, there's one of people who've listened since episode 2 will have heard music from Friends of Batman. We've had one of their music videos on. Jim Conley, who's part of Friends of Batman, is a big contributor. He's all over the comment section. He's a graphic designer, and he has done a free Batman comic. He's done it with his friend who's a writer, and I think he's just done it as like a bit of self-promotion, a bit of sort of a way to attract some attention. And it's free to download until he gets told to take it down by DC Comics, I suppose. But he sent me a printed copy. It's good. And he's also put a link up in the comment section. So if people go to electricsoupkitchen.com and go to the Chew the Fat section, there's a link. If people can't be bothered doing that, it's undertheradar.org.uk. And that's it. It's a free, unofficial Batman comic that you can go and download.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely look at that.
Truth is stranger than fiction. And this is the proof. This is Ripley's Believe It or Not.
A girl in the Yurok tribe in Turkey can become engaged only once in her lifetime. This rule holds even if her fiancé dies before the wedding. Believe it or not. In a moment, I'll tell you about the statue that was executed for murder. In the 5th century B.C., a statue erected to Theogenes of Tassos, Greece, for winning 1,300 Olympic awards, was flogged nightly by a jealous rival. One night, while the jealous man was beating the statue, it toppled over and crushed him to death. Because the statue had killed a man, the act had to be punished. Therefore, the marble figure was tried for murder, convicted, and sentenced to be thrown into the sea, thus executing it for murder. Believe it or not.
News.
Right, Richard, got some news stories. There's been a lot this month. I don't know why. But I'm going to start with, unless you've got something to start with.
No, you go, Fred.
Well, this happened after the London Marathon in a restaurant on the Strand in London, Zizi, which is a chain of pizza restaurants. A guy ran into the kitchen. The restaurant was packed because it was after the marathon and it was full of people eating and drinking who'd been to watch the marathon. And he walked into the restaurant, down the stairs into the restaurant area, tried to enter the kitchen. Somebody tried to stop him. He ran into a second kitchen, grabbed a knife, ran back out into the restaurant, stood up on a table and chopped his knob off.
For any particular reason?
There's no reason that was reported. Then the police came. They said this happened in a matter of seconds and was obviously frightening and distressing for the many customers in the restaurant. Apart from the man, we understand that no one else suffered any physical injuries. Another policeman also said that there's no truth that he shouted, "Who ordered the 12-inch with extra cheese?" But yeah, it's true.
It's strange to do.
In one way, I'd quite like to be in a restaurant, see that happen. Well, not like, but do you know what I mean? It would be quite a spectacle. But in another way, probably would stay with you. I mean, if it was your table, if he jumped on your table and did it right in front of you.
Yeah, especially if you're taking the girl there to break up with her.
If it was
I'm
a first,
gonna break up with her now.
yeah, or if it was a first date. I'll take you to this little Italian place I know, very friendly. Anyway, so that was one of the many stories. Talked about the Phantom Crapper. Scott, did you hear about Scotty's ashes going missing?
Yeah, they ended up crashing in some jungle.
It was in mountains. I don't think they crashed. I think they just come down by Scotty wanted his ashes blasted into space, and it's a private firm that does it. So they did it, and they sent his ashes off, and they did an orbit, and then it just comes down. I think a parachute opens, but then they couldn't find him. He was missing for like 4 weeks. They have found him now. He was lost in the mountains, which even that's quite a cool way to go, isn't it? As well.
Oh yeah. Well, saying even in your death, to be sort of lost.
Yeah, I think being blasted into space would be cool. It would be better if they could do it like your corpse rather than your ashes. So if they could just like take a shuttle up full of corpses and then just push them out into space, and you could just drift off aimlessly around
That's what I
space.
thought they were going to do. Not the corpse, but I thought it was going to spray the ashes out while it was up there.
Yeah, he was just.
Rather than just the ashes go loop around once and come back down to Earth.
Yeah, it was like he went for a ride, really.
He's not really there to appreciate it.
You're not going to be able to appreciate it if you're a corpse.
No, but at least you probably still be up there. It's not like it went up and came down.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. If they like pushed you out of the space shuttle and you just like were sent off tumbling through space, you'd last up there for ages, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't decay because there's no oxygen, there's no atmosphere, is there?
No, but you'd probably smash into some other satellites and stuff. That was in an international incident.
Well, you would eventually hit something or maybe get drawn at something's orbit, but that would take years because you'd only be doing like 4 or 5 miles per hour or something. So
no, you whiz around up there.
Yeah, you're talking about in orbit. I'm talking about if you're just launched and can just drift off
right.
aimlessly. Because if you push something in space, it travels at the same speed that you push it at until something happens to change that, till it hits something, or it'll just always travel at that speed, won't it?
Yeah.
So if you just got pushed out like 5 miles an hour and just drifted off, even if you got drawn into Mars's orbit or something, it'd still be like years of just floating through space. I quite like that idea. I'd also like to be naked, but I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime.
No, probably not.
That's what happened to Scotty. He'd also had Alzheimer's, which I wasn't aware of, which I can't think of any Scotty Alzheimer's related jokes. Can you?
Nah.
There's got to be some sort of beam me up Alzheimer's joke, but I don't know what it is. If anybody knows a beam me up Alzheimer's joke, stick it in the comments section. And then quickly, there was a secondary school that had a confidential book that had all the stuffing about the students with "Do not leave" lying around written on it. That was found by a shopper in Kent, and it said all this stuff like talking about the students. It referred to one boy as a dingbat who was away with the fairies, and another boy as being a bit of a wally. Another entry said a particular boy's mother was quite rough. They said the purpose of the document is to provide targets and strategies for improvement for students in year 8 to 11 and background information about the new intake. I love that. A bit of a wally and away with the fairies. Because old... Go on.
It's a nice kid, but his mum's a bit rough.
Yeah, exactly. Old teachers talk like that. And then the last one, there was a guy, this is in the US, you might have heard about that. He worked for IBM and he's suing them for $5 million for wrongful dismissal after he was found
because they were...
Go on.
Yeah, caught masturbating at work.
Yeah, he was looking at porn at work and internet chat rooms. 58, James Pacenza. But he said he was addicted to online chat rooms and that IBM should have offered him sympathy and treatment instead of firing him. He's a Vietnam War vet. Well, I wouldn't have fired him right there. Vietnam vet. Would you?
Oh, no.
I'd have been like, what are you doing? I'm looking at porn. Well, that's fine. Carry on. You wouldn't mess with a vet. He'd be straight back in with his assault rifle. But anyway, he said that seeing his best friend killed in action while we're on patrol in Vietnam had brought on post-traumatic stress disorder, and that his psychological problems have left him addicted to sex. And what he was actually doing at work, looking at porn, his lawyers have argued that he was using the internet to self-medicate. I'm self-medicating. They said his lawyers have said that his addiction to self-medication should be treated in the same way as addictions to drugs or alcohol. What do you think, Richard?
Well, it's a strange one to claim is a medical condition.
Well, he's not. He's claiming he's addicted to porn, but he's saying he's addicted to porn because he was in the Vietnam War and he's got post-traumatic stress. There's a lot going on there.
I mean, is it a certain kind of porn, or is it just relax him enough to actually get back to doing his work?
Well, I think that's what he means by self-medicating. He's working, and then he needs to look at some porn, otherwise he's going to go crazy or something, isn't he? So it's relaxing him, it's calming him down, which is that's usually the opposite reaction. Self-medicating. You don't want to get caught self-medicating at work, do you?
Not really. But there was another report similar, or not, in Canada where they have medical marijuana.
Yeah.
There's a professor, and what they had to do is that to make his office completely airtight and fit special filters to the windows so that he could smoke in his room without anyone smelling it.
Right.
And not feel uncomfortable.
For him, because it made him feel uncomfortable.
Yes, because he's allowed to take it for medical reasons.
Yeah.
But he felt uncomfortable smoking it around campus.
Right.
So basically, they turned his office into his own special little smoking room. Maybe they can do the same for him.
Maybe that's the answer. He needs his own little
wank cubicle.
Yeah, his own little private cube with frosted windows. And he can self-medicate in there all day long and get paid for it.
Yeah.
There is nothing new under the sun, but under the small green fourth moon of Yavin, there is quite a different story. Director George Lucas and 20th Century Fox present Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is on a daring mission to rescue a beautiful princess, and all he needs is a little help from his friends. Han Solo, space pirate, and Chewie, his giant Wookiee, C-3PO, human relations cyborg, and his counterpart R2-D2, and the mysterious Jedi Knight. Never before in the history of movies has so much time and technology been spent just for fun. Star Wars. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
Computer game reviews.
Oliver,
Yeah,
how are you?
good.
What's so funny?
The fact that we're sat next to each other.
That's true. I usually have to call you, but today I'm doing this, staring right into your ugly face. Alright, Oblivion on the Xbox 360.
Well,
Shoot. Anytime you're ready.
well.
When you want to start, just talk calmly. Yeah, you ready?
Yeah.
Alright.
You start
On
off.
3, I'll count you in from 3. You ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Right.
Go.
Well, you start off by choosing.
Is this it now?
Yes. You s- Right. Well, you start off and you get to choose what you want to be, like if you want to be a human, or you can be like lion. You can have like a lion head, or you can be like a lizard person.
You choose your character.
Yeah. And
Is it important to say that it's a role-playing game?
yeah. So you choose your character, and then whatever you want to be, and then you start off in prison, and then you've got to this emperor like takes you out and he gives you this amulet of King's thing, which you've got to get to. So then you get out of prison when you've got it. When the Emperor gets killed, he gives it to you. Then you get out of prison and you've got to get it to wherever the Emperor tells you to.
So for anyone that don't know, what's the difference between a role-playing game and like a shooter game where you've got to go around shooting people?
Well, it depends what you're on about because, say like Lost Planet that I've done, you've got levels on there, but on Oblivion, it doesn't like, you don't have levels, you can choose when you get to do it, you can just roam around and stuff, you can do whatever you want really.
See, I think that's better. I prefer games like that.
Yeah. Like, you can go into inns where you've got to sleep if you need sleep, or you can just buy houses.
So does it tell you that you need sleep?
It doesn't tell you. I don't think there's a point in that 'cause you don't really need sleep. But I think it does get some health back for you. And there's these guilds that you can join where, like, there's a fighters guild where you go like delivering armour to stuff and fighting with people, or there's the Dark Brotherhood guild, which is like you're a Grim Reaper sort of. You just go look for people and kill them.
And like in a role-playing game, you can go up to characters in the game and talk to them.
Yeah, you can go and talk to people if you need information. You can go up to random people in a village and they'll give you information about stuff, or they might not be very friendly, so they'll tell you to get lost and stuff.
And it's a massive game, isn't it? It's huge, like the environments.
It's a big, massive island, and one time I tried getting to the edge of the island, but so I'm climbing up this mountain to try and get to the sea, but I got to the top of this mountain and then it's got one of them weird, you cannot pass this area things.
So what's it called again?
The Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
And any thumbs up?
Give it a 9.
9 thumbs up. I think that's the highest ever.
Yep. It is. What are you looking at?
Well, have you got anything else to add?
It's good and I recommend anyone should buy it.
Alright, good.
Don't be alarmed. It's only the death breath of the Dark Lord. Don't be scared. It's only an Imperial cruiser making the jump to light speed. Relax. It's only a movie and it's all for fun. Director George Lucas and 20th Century Fox present Star Wars. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
Go to see The Who tonight, Richard.
All right. Well, literally them or?
Literally them.
Ah.
They're playing Hull FC football stadium. So I'm taking my nephews, 13 and 16. Joe sort of knows about The Who and knows a few songs. Oliver doesn't. But I don't think either of them are aware that they're going to see a band whose members are like the same age as their grandparents. So that might be a bit of a shock for them when they come on stage.
Sure it will.
I think their Townsend's age is probably like the combined age of me, Joe, and Ollie. But anyway, yeah, we're going to see that tonight. It'd be an open air gig, really. As long as it doesn't rain, it should be cool. So that's what I've got planned. Let's talk about the script.
Okay.
So it's called Igor. It's computer animated comedy, but it's set in. It's like set in the world of like horror films, but it's set in the world. It's basically about lab assistants, isn't it?
Yeah, the evil scientist and his standby assistant, and the society where like the evil scientist is king, and the lab assistant is like some sort of second-rate citizen.
Yeah. It's like the story of all the lab assistants.
Yeah.
in horror films. And there's a competition for best lab assistant.
No, it's for the best evil scientist. Have you read this script? Are you just bluffing it again?
I'm bluffing it. I read half of it, and then yeah, you've found me out because I've only read half the script.
Well, basically, there's a competition every year in which the great 13 evil scientists have basically a science fair to see whose evil invention is the worst or the best, as this case would be. And that evil scientist is get to be revered throughout the land, and the other 12 scientists get sent back to do menial jobs, such as being janitors, and their Igors get put to death by being lab experiments with the new head scientist.
Yeah. And it's really funny with all the horror conventions, like the brain in the jar is a character, isn't it? And the
Yeah, and they all live in the typical evil scientist castles, and the Igors all sort of second-class citizens.
yeah, but the Igor that this script centers around, he's got ambitions to be a scientist, hasn't he?
He did ever since he was a kid. He hoped he'd be sent away to evil scientist school, but they took him off to the Igor training school instead. He invents his own super amazingly evil machine. Did you get as far as him killing his scientist?
No.
Right, because I'm not saying they stole, but they did. Your time travel joke?
What was that?
You had the time travel joke for the dream catchers.
What, the German Shepherd one?
No, not the.
What was
No,
the joke?
the two monsters where he invents a time machine and he says, and he says, "I'll come back in 30 seconds." And they sort of go into a loop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's in there.
Kind of, except he goes back in time, and of course the other version of him's there.
Yeah.
So the Igor accidentally kills the present one, which means the future one disappears as well. But because Igor... See, I say Igor, you say Igor.
You say potato, and I say potato. The thing is, Richard,
Yeah.
you say tomato, I say tomato. Nobody says potato.
I know.
Who says that?
Maybe a few elites.
What? Americans
The
don't say
skulls.
potato. Nobody does. Anyway, go on.
But no, it's just he goes back in time, so obviously when he goes back in time, his old self is still there. So
Yeah.
the two appear. And accidentally the Igor kills the past one. So because he was killed in the past, he wasn't there in the future.
Yeah.
So the evil scientist disappears, leaving
So-
Igor to take his place at the competition.
So even though it's like a kid's animation, it sounds pretty dark in places.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really nice little bits in it.
If people want to see a picture of the characters, if you go to the Internet Movie Database.com, IMDb, and search for Igor, they've got a little picture of the Igor, and he's got his best mate is like a rabbit, isn't he?
Yeah, who can't be killed.
Yeah,
It's an
is he
immortal rabbit.
an immortal rabbit. I think that film sounds good.
It does. I enjoyed it. I laughed out loud at a couple of little bits. There are a lot of terrible puns in it, but that's a good thing.
If they get the look right, computer animation, it'd be nice to see something that isn't so bright and shiny and talking animals, basically, which is majority of computer animation now, isn't it?
Yeah, lots of princesses it seems to be.
Did you see Cars?
I did.
Now, I've only seen a bit of that because I put it on and Franklin wasn't into it. But I was then reading online that Cars is actually set in a world where humans have died out.
All right, I never came across that. Oh, that's not really said in the film.
Yeah, apparently it is. It's set in a
Oh.
future world. It's like the sort of Terminator 2 world where machines have taken over.
Oh, right. That's a weird one.
Yeah, so that's another.
strange little twist.
It is, isn't it? But then all Disney films had a dark part in the animation, didn't it, and a scary part. And even
Yeah.
though when you watched it as kids and they scared you, and you probably still remember it now, that's all part of the enjoyment, isn't it?
Oh yeah, a little bit of a scare.
Like the drunken elephants in Dumbo.
That was scary.
They were a bit scary. The dream with the drunken elephants.
Maybe.
And
Uh,
what scared you?
I was never a big Disney fan as a kid, so I never saw that much.
What was your first scare as a kid?
I thought the Blob. I remember watching the Blob, stuffing up and watching that.
Yeah.
And a couple of those sort of old horror films used to be on. I think it was like a Friday night or a Saturday night. Stuff
Oh.
on my grandma's.
Yeah. ITV used to do Appointment with Fear on a Friday night, 10:30, and they were more or less Hammer films, but they were pretty shocking to a young kid. BBC Two used to do double bills, and I used to love these, but I never used to make it into the second one because they were too terrifying. But the first one would be an old black and white, like Universal Monster one or Creature from the Black Lagoon, and then the second one would be like some 70s, like Ride with the Devil or stuff like that. They're a bit hardcore, and they were great double bills. I remember them, but I never used to make it very far in the second one. I remember staying up to watch Frogs with Ray Milland. Have you seen that?
Huh?
He's some guy on an island, and it gets taken over by frogs and animals. It's a bit creepy, and that terrified me. I had to watch the last quarter of an hour with the sound down because the music was frightening me so much sitting up and watching it. So I watched it with the sound. I was determined to watch it, but I just turned the sound off. But those films, looking back, I think what was so frightening for me as a kid is they were so adult because they took themselves seriously, didn't they? Like horror films today, they have a bit of a nod and a wink, and they're sort of aimed at teenagers, aren't they?
Yeah.
You would tune into those films, like I say, Frogs, and it's on an all adult cast, taking it completely straight, completely serious. And it was like seeing this different world as a kid that you didn't know existed, and all these adult things happening, and that was all part of what made it disturbing.
Yeah, especially like say because it's adults running around scared, not just teenagers.
Yeah, not like good-looking teenagers. It was like Gareth Hunt or somebody running around. And but I love them. I went to see Spider-Man 3.
Oh, was it any good?
Very disappointed, Richard.
Yeah, well, I want to see it for emo Spider-Man that I've heard about.
He does go a bit emo when his dark side comes out, but it's a bit of a mess. It's got like, you've seen Crime Wave, that Sam Raimi film, haven't you?
Yeah.
And when he just like bungs in too many ideas.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like he's in Crime Wave mode, where it's got like a bit of slapstick and a dance routine and like 10 different stories, and I mean it's not as bad. I enjoyed it, but it was just a bit of a mess really. Plus I had Beavis and Butthead sat behind me. Every time I go to the cinema, I've always, even in empty cinemas, I've got an idiot sat behind me. I went to see, we talked about Grindhouse.
Oh yeah.
I went to see it when I was in America, and I enjoyed it. It was good. But I had these teenage lads sat behind me who were just, they were commentating. They're like, there's one bit where this girl texts her boyfriend and said, "Are you coming?" And he said, "I'm not coming." And she texts him back like, "Fucking arsehole." And you see that on the screen of her phone, and this guy like behind me is like, "Fucking arsehole." And I was jet lagged as well, and I couldn't handle it. I had to move, and they were being very British, I just had to very angry and move seats in a very angry way.
Shuffle your popcorn.
Yeah,
In disgruntled manner.
yeah, not actually say anything. They were so thick though. There was like one scene, she leaves this bar, and it's raining, and he's like, "It's raining." It wasn't even important. It had nothing to do with the film. It wasn't even trying to be funny, the fact that it was raining. And it was making this guy giggle. Maybe they were stoned.
Probably started.
Yeah.
Ellery Queen's Minute Mysteries. This is Ellery Queen with the case I call the illegal entry. Police had a drunken sailor in custody on a vagrancy charge when the man produced a roll of money that added up to several $1,000s. I questioned the man, who said he was celebrating Christmas, had gotten leave from his ship on the way to Chicago through the St. Lawrence Seaway nearby. Although the man had seaman's papers, I was convinced he was trying to enter the country illegally. In a moment, I'll tell you why. In the case of the illegal entry, the sailor said he was celebrating Christmas and that his ship was in the St. Lawrence Seaway. The seaway is closed during most of the winter. The sailor was a little lost at sea. Listen again to Ellery Queen's Minute Mysteries.
Don't be alarmed. It's only a laser sword fight. Don't be scared. It's only the Death Star destroying another world. Relax. It's only a movie, and it's all for fun. Director George Lucas and 20th Century Fox present Star Wars. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
All right, so we talked a bit about it being the 30th anniversary of Star Wars. There's a book out called The Making of Star Wars, which is an amazing book. It's got tons of stuff in there that's never been seen before. While Star Wars was in pre-production and being shot, the studio commissioned a making-of book, and so there were all these interviews done with people before it became huge, all the major players and George Lucas and everybody. And then for some reason it got shelved, all these interviews. They never got used. And they've gone back and they've dug them all out, and they've re-interviewed everybody, and they've gone through all the archives, and they've made the definitive, from like 1970 first idea to the film coming out book. So I've been reading that. And there's tons of stuff. You think you might know it all about Star Wars, but there's tons of stuff in there that you didn't know. It's amazing just how badly treated he was by the studios as well. Because he'd made American Graffiti, which nobody liked. He'd made it really cheaply, and Universal released it. And it made hundreds of millions. So he was like suddenly this hot director, but he'd already signed his Star Wars contract because he was skin. And they'd got him at some like cut price bargain deal to make Star Wars films, and were paying him very little. And all of a sudden they've got like the hottest director just by accident. So you'd think they would be like...
That's what they thought.
Well, yeah. Well, they did, yeah. But you'd think they would be like pleased with that, or then, try and help him a bit more. But all they do is they just see how far they can push him around because he's got so much success. They just take pleasure in like saying, no, you can't have that. No, you can't do that. So that's a good read. All right, so Richard, this is our second bit of corporate sponsorship. After KFC, got Orson Welles selling Bird's Eye beef burgers and peas. And this is it anyway. Have a listen to this.
We know a remote farm in Lincolnshire where Mrs. Buckley lives. Every July, peas grow there. Do you really mean that?
Yeah, so in other words, I'd start half a second late.
Don't you think you really want to say July over the snow? Isn't that the fun of it?
If you can make it almost when that shot disappears, it'll make my...
I think it's so nice that you see a snow-covered field and say every July peas grow there. We know a remote farm in Lincolnshire where Mrs. Buckley lives. Every July, peas grow there. We aren't even in the fields, you see.
Yeah, we aren't.
We're talking about them growing, and she's picked them.
Yeah.
What?
In July.
I don't understand you, then. What must be over for July?
When we get out of that snowy field.
When I was out, we were onto a can of peas, a big dish of peas, when I said in July.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, always. I'm always past that.
You are?
Yes. Well, that's about where I say in July.
Can you emphasize a bit in July?
Why? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry. There's no known way of saying an English sentence in which you begin a sentence with in and emphasize it. Get me a jury and show me how you can say in July, and I'll go down on you. That's just idiotic, if you'll forgive me by saying so. That's just stupid. In July. I'd love to know how you emphasize in July. Impossible. Meaningless.
I think all they were thinking about was that they didn't want to...
He isn't thinking.
Orson, can we just do one last...
Yeah?
And it was my fault. I said in July. If you can leave every July...
You didn't say it. He said it.
It's every July.
Your friend. Every July?
So after the show...
No, you don't really mean every July.
It is.
But that's bad copy. It's in July. Of course it's every July. Too much directing around here. Norway. Fish fingers, Findus, Norway. We know a certain fjord in Norway, near where the cod gather in great shoals. There, Jan Stangeland. Shit.
A fraction more on that shoals thing, because you rolled it around very nicely.
Yeah, roll it around and I have no more time. You don't know what I'm up against. Because it's full of things that are only correct because they're grammatical, but they're tough on the ear. You see, this is a very wearying one. It's unpleasant to read. Unrewarding. Because Findus freeze the cod at sea and then add a crumb crisp coating. That's tough, crumb crisp coating. I think, no, because of the way it's written, you need to break it up because it's not as conversationally written. What?
Take crumb out.
Take crumb out. Good. Here under protest is beef burgers. We know a little place in the American far west where Charlie Briggs chops up the finest prairie-fed beef and tastes... This is a lot of shit, you know that. You want one more?
Yeah.
More on what, beef?
You missed the first beef, actually, completely.
What do you mean missed it?
You're emphasizing prairie-fed.
But you can't emphasize beef. That's like his wanting me to emphasize in before July. Come on, fellas, you're losing your heads. I wouldn't direct any living actor like this in Shakespeare. Will you do this? It's impossible.
Orson, you did 6 last year, and by far and away the best, and I know the reason.
The right reading for this is the one I'm giving it.
At the moment.
I spent 20 times more for you people than any other commercial I've ever made. You are such pests. Now, what is it you want?
No, I think...
In your depths of your ignorance, what is it you want? Whatever it is you want, I can't deliver because I just don't see it.
That was absolutely fine. It really was.
It isn't worth it. No money is worth it.
Right, what else should we talk about, Richard? Richard, what should we talk about?
Say,
what were you going to say?
Well, talking about George Lucas and Spider-Man, did you hear how George Lucas called it a silly film?
Spider-Man 3, yeah, he had a bit of a cheek there, didn't he?
Well, especially, I guess he's a bit annoyed because it drew more at the box office for the opening week than any of his movies.
Yeah, I know.
It's silly. It's a silly movie. There isn't much there. Once you take it all apart, there's not much of a story.
I know, he's got a bit of a cheek, really, with that silliness. Yeah, this guy swinging from buildings with webs coming out of his hands, it's totally preposterous. What it really needs is a gay Jamaican, like, fish man standing in shit. Yeah, well, you know, he's probably getting a bit of a crotchety old man. But they've just announced they're doing a new computer animated TV series, Star Wars Clone Wars, like TV series.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, there's plans to maybe do a sort of live action TV series. So we'll see what that's like. You know, they're making a Terminator TV show.
That's what I was going to talk about next.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been watching the trailers for it, and it looked quite interesting. It could actually be quite good.
Now, it's not set in the future, is it?
No, it's set in the years when Sarah Connor's on the run with her son, but because of everything that happened in Terminator 2, going back and warning everyone and stuff, the future's actually changed again.
Right.
Because things haven't happened the same way around. So there's even more Terminators going back in time to track down the young John Connor.
But they don't look like Arnie then, because the Terminators all look like Arnie, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or was
they
that
look like the Terminators underneath once they stripped their skin, but on top they look like a sort of, generic movie henchman.
So that's what's going back, like the Chrome ones?
Yeah. Well, no, they're going back with skin on.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, you think that looks good?
Yeah.
It's a British
seems
actress.
to be a girl Terminator that's sent back to help young John.
Richard, if you will, a Terminatrix.
Oh. I will and often do.
And you've got the Bionic Woman as well, with some girl out of EastEnders. Some girl. The actress out of EastEnders. Who's the actress out of EastEnders who's playing it? She played Zoe Slater. Do you know what I mean?
No, I've not heard of that.
She's got black hair. Anyway, was in EastEnders, and now she's just done the Bionic Woman over there.
Oh, I'll have to look out for that.
Michelle Ryan, she's called. But you still haven't seen any Heroes.
No, I caught one a while back. Watching a couple of those Masters of Horror.
I've
Did I talk about last time?
No, but I've been watching them. I've taped nearly all of them. There's some good ones in there, but there's some utter shit in there.
Well, to be fair, it's the old school directors, and some of them were pretty crap directors.
First time round. No, they were. Which ones have you seen?
I saw a couple of Dario Argento ones.
What,
Fur
with
Jennifer. Meatloaf. The one about the skins.
I haven't seen the Dario Argento one with Meatloaf, but that's got
quite a good one.
Well, how can it not be?
It plays a furrier.
Oh yeah.
The
first Dario Argento one wasn't very good. The Jennifer one.
It was all right, but it was typical Dario Argento, wasn't it? Just like complete gore at the end.
Yeah, and made no sense at all. Although talking about my favourite Italian horror director, he's just shot and finished the third part of the trilogy that started with Suspiria and Inferno. And Suspiria is like the mother of sighs, Inferno is mother of tears, or maybe yeah, and the last one is Mother of Darkness. And he's just shot that film, and it's super gory, and it's got a witch orgy scene in it that is having trouble with the Italian censors. So sounds good.
It must be better he's having trouble with the Italian censors.
Yeah, exactly. If it's upsetting them. So what other massive horror have you seen?
The John Carpenter one.
No, I do want to see these. Cigarette Burns, is it?
Yeah.
That's the one you've seen?
Yeah, that was actually really good. One of the best things John Carpenter's done in a long while. Because you know, usually he can go sort of the slightly silly route.
Yeah.
Yeah, but decent. But this is actually one of his thinkers.
Well, that was written by a guy who writes for the Ain't It Cool website. You know Harry Knowles' website?
No.
Oh, yeah, Harry Knowles, like the big ginger guy.
Yeah.
Well, one of the contributors there, a guy who writes under the name of Moriarty on Ain't It Cool, he wrote Cigarette Burns. So I've sort of followed that through reading his articles on there, but I haven't seen it. But I want to see it. Yeah, you see, like you're saying about old directors, you still sort of get the feeling that John Carpenter could still do it, but sometimes it seems like he's just can't be bothered. But
he found it in a lot.
Yeah, he does, and it adds like some 80s guitar rock over the soundtrack. But you do sort of get the feeling that if you put his mind to it, he'd still be able to make a brilliant film.
And what was the other ones I saw? Oh, Joe, one of the Toe Pooper ones, which was just crap.
Well, he hasn't made a brilliant film in 20 odd years.
And Joe Dante, one of his ones.
I like Joe Dante. I love Gremlins.
Yeah, I mean the one I saw, is it The Screwfly or something like that? It's called.
I know he made one about zombie soldiers coming out from Iraq, so it wasn't that one.
No, it wasn't that one.
Right.
This is about a virus that turns men violent against women.
All right.
And it sort of turns out in the end to be like an alien virus, and it's their way of taking over the world and killing us all off. So obviously if you kill all the women, then there's going to be no reproduction, and we're all going to die out.
Yes. Or we could just all turn gloriously gay. Well, yeah, I've got all those to get through, so I'll maybe watch some more of those, and we can talk a bit more about those next month, because, yeah, I like that Masters of Horror idea. I love the idea of, like, getting back, getting all those old school directors and letting them have another shot at things. They're making Halloween. Halloween's coming out, isn't it?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's been remade. I know that's one close to your own heart.
I always loved that one. I always like, Michael Myers is just completely relentless since the age of 5. He's had this one idea in his head.
Yep.
To kill his sister.
Well, you're going to hate the remake. It's been remade by Rob Zombie, and it's I think it's sort of trying to explain. It's like goes into his past and explain how he's like it's like a serial killer, like he's tortured animals as a kid and all that sort of stuff. Which, it like you said, the whole point about Michael Myers is this unstoppable enigma. That's what makes him frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, because that was the whole thing with I can't remember his name. The doctor.
Yeah.
You know, he's never met anyone who scared him so much. He came to him like when he was 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and the great acting by what's the name of the actor?
It was Donald Pleasence.
Donald Pleasence, yeah.
And Richard, he was called Dr. Loomis.
Yes, getting back to the whole thing of people taking it seriously, even though it was like one of the first teenage slasher movies.
Yeah.
For the most part, like his part was played deadly seriously, and
Yeah.
that's what carried and made it scary.
Yeah. And if you explain that, like, Michael Myers got beat up a lot as a kid or something.
Yeah, he made the bed a lot.
Yeah, who cares about that? And then he's just the guy next door, isn't he?
Yeah, who one day went postal. You know, it's not. That's not that scary anymore.
No. Anything else, Richard?
I was gonna say, we can catch up with the new Doctor Who's. Quite enjoying this new series.
How up to date are you?
The last one I saw was the Daleks in Manhattan.
Yeah, that was all right. That was more like a traditional Dalek story, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do like the Daleks.
You can't beat them.
Well, Doctor Who can every week, it seems, but
I know, but
they're getting less and less. That one poor little Dalek.
Yeah, he's the last one left. You feel sorry for him now?
Well, maybe a little bit.
They're very highly strung Daleks, aren't they?
They have a lot of issues.
I mean, they've been genetically engineered to believe that they're the superior race. But the way they lose their temper, you think they're very easily threatened.
Well, that's it. I mean, the Doctor must be like a sort of semi-god within their world. I mean, he's always turning up.
That's why they're always shouting at him. They're probably just calm when he's not around. Like, all right, how's it going? Yeah, a bit of exterminating. I'm just going to have a look over
They even
here.
sort of play on that idea on a couple of the other past ones with the Doctor. It's like the Doctor turns up and the entire Dalek army craps itself because the Doctor's here.
Yeah, there was a bit that made me laugh in that Daleks in Manhattan where the one that's decided that the human hybrid is the way ahead and the other two aren't sure, and they meet in a tunnel and one did like a look over its shoulder. Did you see that bit?
Yeah.
I thought that was good. Although I watched Quatermass and the Pit, the old Hammer films, on DVD the other day. That's really good and really spooky.
Yeah.
And I think that's ripe for a remake. I think if the BBC was smart to cash in on Doctor Who, because Quatermass was sort of like an early Doctor Who, wasn't he, that character?
Yeah.
I think to cash in on that, and you could make it really scary, Quatermass now. I mean, that would be more adult than Torchwood. They just want to get Quatermass going again. It's some spooky stories, and it's always like intelligences and things that you can't quite understand. It's never fully explained in Quatermass. It's just something that's like beyond your comprehension, but that is going to have an effect on you. I mean, that's more frightening than a lot of the crap that they did on Torchwood.
Yeah, Torchwood wasn't frightening at all. It was more interesting at times and just a little bit of a romp. Did you see the end of the series yet?
Yeah, I did.
I'd rather have some guy in a silver suit saying as an alien and going to destroy the world than some big 6-foot doom monster with horns on its head.
Yeah.
Some sort of pseudo evil devil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That walks all over Cardiff.
Yeah.
That'll never be mentioned of again.
We shall never speak of this again.
We're going to end with a bit more Method Music. So go to methodmusic.com and do a musical portrait. If anybody wants to send anything in or send in any suggestions or anything like that, we're really open to it and we really need it, because sort of comments or feedback or stories or anything, music will be good, is what sort of we need to stick in the podcast. So if anybody listening has got any ideas about anything or comments or feedback, go to electricsoupkitchen.com, go to the Chew the Fat section and leave a comment. All right, Richard, I think that might be it.
There's a fair bunch there.
There's plenty there to be going on with.